You are watching the Fayetteville Government Channel. Up next, full coverage of the latest meeting of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. The Parks and Recreation Advisory Board is composed of citizen volunteers and meets on the first Monday of each month. The board advises the City Council and city staff on issues that affect the city's parks and recreational programs. And now, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
We'll go ahead and call to order. First up, we have a little bit of new business that we're going to add on to the very end, and it's an update on the Gully Park land issue. By way, we're just going to add that on the tail end of everything. Next up is roll call.
Watson.
Here.
Priest.
Here.
Maxwell.
Here.
Lamb.
Here.
Caldwell.
Yes.
Lawson.
Here.
McKnight.
Here.
Prophet.
Mr. Chairman, I think you need to take a vote if everybody's okay for you to add it.
Oh, I'm sorry. So do I make a motion or do I just make a vote?
Either make a
Oh,
vote.
we'd like to add a new piece of something new to the agenda, and we need to vote on it. Here, Nancy, you want to take a roll, Melanie? I'll get it straight. I promise I'll get it straight.
Watson.
Yes.
Priest.
Yes.
Maxwell.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Caldwell.
Sure.
Lawson.
Yes.
McKnight.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, we've done roll call. So next up is approval of the April 7th minutes. Everybody had a chance to look at them?
Question that we accept.
Accept the mission.
Second.
Second. Take the roll again, please, Melanie.
Anyone have to approve?
Mm-hmm.
McKnight.
Yes.
Lawson.
Yes.
Caldwell.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Maxwell.
Yes.
Priest.
Yes.
Yes.
Watson.
All right, first up is a botanical garden report from Richie Lane.
And Byron. That's what it says on mine. We had a pretty good meeting, I thought, the emergency meeting.
Emergency.
Did you know about the emergency meeting? Philip was there. And it seems like after that last email that went around that everybody's in agreement. Yeah, where the trail needs to be, and I went out and walked it between the meeting and the time that email came out, and it seemed to me that as a mountain biker, that's where I would want the trail, as opposed to being out in that field anyway. I think the only people that would take opposition to it might be the bird folks, but they're planning on building a duck blind out there anyway, so the duck blind would be out past where the trail would be, so I kind of felt like it was a good compromise by both parties.
Yeah. So a little background to what Richie's talking about. We sent out a couple weeks ago proposed map boundary, lease boundary. I think you guys all got that for the proposed. This was Botanical Gardens had asked us to essentially put out a proposed boundary, what the city recommends, and then let people react to it, and let's just try to move this thing forward. So we sent that out. You guys all got it. We had a meeting. The initial feedback was that some of the Botanical Garden folks didn't like it, but once we kind of talked about it, they essentially came up with 5 points that they didn't like about it. And one of them was on the southeast. This little area on the drawing that we had the boundary kind of come up here along the trail, which was in discussion with the mayor's office and Botanical Gardens. The city is talking about putting a parking lot there for trailhead, and it's whether or not that was part of the lease boundary or not. They wanted it to be part of the lease boundary. We didn't have an issue with that, so we put the line back out to the corner of the property. So that was the number one thing they had a problem with. The next issue, you can kind of see this is the line, the proposed boundary, the lease line is lighter shaded, and we just had it stopping right here, so their lease boundary stopped here. They still wanted a little buffer area between their lease and the parks for just to keep as a native area. And so we added that. We've shown it like this just so it's clear that there's no boundary here, because that was a big question with some of the user groups is they put a boundary around their lease. That's what was kind of choking off the wildlife corridor and everything. So we didn't have an issue with including that as part of the lease, just designating as a non-fee area, so it doesn't have a boundary around it so that they can't.
Now, they still want to include all that to the left, right, and give all that back to the city, that
Correct.
6 or 7 acres,
Yeah.
I don't remember how many it was.
Well, right now their lease is a little over 80 acres, and it goes all the way to Veterans Park this way. So, yeah, the new proposed lease line, as you can kind of see it, is the lighter shaded. So it includes this hatched area, the trail here, north of the trail's the border here, it goes to the corner up here, and then this is their existing lease line. It goes, and then it hits the new trail, and then it follows the new trail, and then here's about a 100-foot offset from the lake for a wildlife corridor. So we addressed this, gave that back to them. We addressed this, made that a non-fee area. The other question they had was that wildlife observation area. They wanted that originally as part of the lease, but then after meeting with the mayor and discussion, they decided they did not want that, that if one of the user groups wanted to build a wildlife observation area, they could, but it would remain city land. So we took out that portion from their lease. Then the next two areas they had concern about, and when we drew the map in, we were working on a scale of 8 by 11, and we were drawing a line on there, so the line itself to scale is about 30 feet wide. So it was kind of hard to tell on a piece of paper, but they were concerned with where we drew the proposed trail boundary, that it encroached upon that field. They basically wanted the whole field to develop as their gardens, and so they just asked if we could move the trail back into the woods. Here at this point and at this point, they've got plans for a children's garden kind of in this little cleared area. And so Allison and I met Ron Cox and Gerald Clean out there, and we just kind of walked it and flagged it, agreed on the area, then we brush hogged it and had GPS come in and shoot the line in, and that's where this red line is. So we adjusted it really about 20 feet here at the corner of this field, moved it back into the wood line, and then right here we moved it in about 20 feet. So it's still, you can see, it leaves about a 400-foot buffer from the lake edge to the new proposed trail here. This is the closest point of the cove area, other than here, the existing trail, but it's about 125 feet, and it kicks back out. And then the lease line, it follows essentially 100 feet. It widens out a little at that little peninsula there. You can see up to 190 there, but it follows this contour line around. We proposed this based on our conversation, the 5 things that they asked, and they all seem satisfied with it. The mayor's office is satisfied with it. So between Botanical Gardens and the city, this is kind of what we'll be proposing as the lease bound.
I think it looks good.
That's the yellow, the current trail line.
The yellow is the current trail, and so really what's changing is from where this yellow is, it will move to where the red is. And it's still, when we were out there, of course everything is leafed out, but you couldn't even see the lake. You could see it a little bit right here, you know, just kind of through the trees, but it's so thick you can't.
They might have to bush hog that so you can get a view.
Yeah. Cut some trees.
Byron, I have a couple of questions. First, on that southeast corner, southeast corner, since they're going to take it, are they still going to put a parking lot there, or is
The city's going to put a parking lot.
but it's going to be part of their lease?
Yes.
Okay.
And there'll be language in the lease agreement that states that parking lot must be always open to the public.
Okay.
They can't ever close it down. And actually, they're going to trade off to the parking lot that we had built for them. And before, they had to allow all trail users to utilize that. So they would like that for their people. You know, you get people that go to the wedding that, you know, need to park closer or an event that they have.
So that's going to turn into a private parking lot?
It'll be
there,
for
and
the-
public will be moved down there. Okay.
It'll be
So
for,
they're paying for that, how's that working out? That's gonna be their parking lot now?
yeah, that will be their parking lot in exchange for the one.
Yeah, it's my understanding that they're
Well,
going,
they're leasing it.
the city's going to
City's
build
gonna
a parking
pay for
lot
that.
here,
Yeah,
but then Botanical Gardens still has in their plan to do parking all along this area.
which will be, citizens will be allowed to.
Right, and I think that's, and we're still, these are things are still evolving, but I think that's where they were talking about the trade-off of, because they would pay for this,
Yeah.
they would allow trail users kind of here, and we'd kind of do a swap thing. I think is how, because its stand has always been, the city paid for this parking lot, you can't exclude the public, and so we're kind of talking about when they build this one, it's right next to the trail, it makes more sense.
The parking lot's paid for by a grant.
No, well.
Yeah, it's paid by
Yeah,
a
part of it.
grant.
Part of it. I think the city.
I think that's what it is.
I don't know.
I don't think the city put up the money for the building, and the parking lot was done through a grant for the,
Parks and Tourism.
yeah, for Parks and, I think that's right.
Well, if that's the case, then we can't close down that parking lot
Yeah.
At all?
at all. If that's the case,
I
I
mean,
don't.
you're not ever going to be
I
able to close
don't-
a parking lot anyway, but
Yeah.
if there's an alternate use, people are going to be able to use it.
Yeah, but no, it's my understanding that
Or it could be the other way.
they pretty much pay for the gardens that they built now,
Yeah.
and that parking lot was not part of that money. You know, not HM, AMP gave them money, and I think that
Maybe
money was
that's what
used
it
for the
was.
parking lot. That's
Maybe
my
what they use for the
understanding.
parking lot.
I got a
There-
question about that. If you do close that parking lot off, is there any plans to build a bathroom at the new parking lot? Because that's kind of the draw there to that parking lot, is at least there's a restroom there, and there's not one on really anywhere on the trail,
The
other
people
than that area.
still walk, you know, when people are gonna be using that, they're gonna be active walking or hiking or biking anyway, so they can just take a little trip up to the restroom.
And we do have restrooms at the softball field parking lot and at Veterans restroom.
On the east side of
And
it.
North Shore side.
And North,
Is there public access to those bathrooms in there? Okay.
All of them.
At the Botanical Garden? Yeah.
And I think the lease will also talk a
Now, the
little
Botanical
bit.
Garden maintains those restrooms.
Right.
Yeah, they're not happy with, they don't like that, with trail users coming in.
And I assume that's still,
They want
I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think it's a matter of being happy, I think it's just the added burden of the cost.
Yeah. The problem,
cleaning.
the problem is when you accept grant money, then you don't let things be open to the public. That's what gets.
Okay, so that,
They
so
don't like
the
200.
bathroom at the Botanical Garden will remain open
Yeah.
on an ongoing basis in Southwest.
and I assume there's some kind of verbiage in the agreement as far as the trail going through the Botanical Gardens property, that that will always be open and available.
Well, now the trail won't go through, oh, you're talking about the asphalt trail?
Yes.
On this side?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything in the lease about that.
It probably will be, I mean,
I mean,
they're
they're just
drafting the lease.
updating the lease, yeah.
Yeah, that's the next step, actually, is to update the lease.
Right.
Now that we've got the boundary hopefully kind of nailed down.
Okay, so all that'll get taken care of. Now, I'm sorry, were there any
So
questions?
it's just that one section that's in,
Right here, the asphalt trail, right here, goes through the lease
right there.
property. Everywhere else, the trail is the boundary, or outside of that.
And there'll be language in the lease about the trail, about the parking lot, about the non-fee area.
Yeah.
So I think we can address,
So what's the term of this new lease going to be? Does it go back to the 25-year deal, or?
it's 25-year with 4 renewals, is the way it's written now. So I don't know what the agreement, what they were wanting was a long-term, because it's easier to get grants or foundations to buy in if they know it's going to be used for a nonprofit rather than municipality, so.
And I had one more question on the northwestern boundary. That leaves enough space that, what did you say, the closest spot was 125 yards?
125 feet.
125 feet, I'm sorry. And that pretty much meets, what we had talked about for the wildlife corridor. I mean, I think 125 feet. He said there's kind of a gray area in there that you can kind of give and take a little bit between 100 and 150, depending on the land. And everything looked good as far as you guys.
As far as this, we're really pleased with this. I think
Okay.
it reaches a nice compromise with all the user groups. Nobody got exactly what they intended, but I think it was a great compromise, and I think it makes Lake Fayetteville, it values what Lake Fayetteville's for. So I think we're good with it.
So this is currently the proposal, and the other user groups haven't been.
They will be notified. This is what we're going to let, and then we'll bring that to Parks Board, either next meeting or we'll hold a special board meeting and let it be a public input for those user groups. And Parks Board will make a recommendation, and then the next will be City Council. But I think they're going to go ahead and try to put the lease agreements kind of together, so you'll be able to look at that at the same time.
Is there, do we need a vote, or is that just, you guys just let us know?
You'll vote at the next meeting.
The next meeting, when
This-
the actual proposal, this is
Yeah.
just an update. Okay.
The
That
lake.
sounds great. Is there any other questions? Okay, thank you.
We just got word Friday that it was okay, it was approved, so it's moved pretty quickly now.
Okay, that sounds great. Next up is the regional park progress update. Allison?
We have a contract at City Council tomorrow night with Lewis & Associates for, I think it's $726,000 to do the construction documents for Phase 1 of the park. Took it to a general session last week, nobody had any questions. Gave the council a brief update of where we are and what the phasing is. Everybody seemed happy and ready to move forward with it, so that was good. We have submitted a rezoning for the parkland so that we can zone it to P1 institutional, which is the same zoning as most of our other parks. We've been trying to keep them all in the same zoning, and it allows Parks and Recreation use by right, so that way we don't have to get conditional use permits for anything that we're doing out there. The current schedule, if everything stays on track, is to have construction documents out late this fall, and then bring a construction contract to council, hopefully November, and break ground by the end of the year. If you haven't been out there, ADEQ is out there now, working on the landfill. The first phase of it, which is the northern half, is pretty much cleared. They're going to start grading. We're going to be sending out a press release to just try to increase awareness of the public when they're out there. The contractor said that they've seen a lot of hikers and bikers coming up and down Judge Cummings Road, and that will become a major haul road in the next couple of weeks. So there'll be dump trucks, loaded dump trucks going back and forth pretty much nonstop until they get enough clay on there to cap it.
Is it worn a sign?
Where you go?
Okay.
Maybe.
I mean, you might.
Hopefully we'll have a trail.
Well, we'll have a trail and a trailhead access by the end of June. Yeah, but this is going to start like the next couple of weeks, so we've got a little bit of time in between. We've got to make sure people are aware of what's going on.
When are they going to have the whole surface exposed? You said they're about halfway, or?
They do for the first phase.
Okay.
They're doing it about half at a time, and there's a
Okay.
major drainage that runs through the middle, and so they're doing the north half of it now, and it's clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't know exactly where it is. I'd like to go out there and actually see where it is.
You can see it from Cato and 540 now. You see a big bald spot over there, that's
it.
nah.
It's a little shocking.
Yeah.
So the location for the parking has been found, and
Yes, we're, the temporary parking is going to be, you know what, I have a map on that jump drive, if you want to bring it up. It's where we show a permanent parking now, it's the closest one. As soon as you turn into Judge Cummings on the master plan, there's a parking lot, a large parking lot on the north side of the road.
Yeah, where the sign is.
Just about where the sign is. That's where the temporary spots go. And then we'll build trail up to kind of the top, close to where the water tanks are, to keep people off of Judge Cummings Road.
I think OORC is going to, did you think?
Yep. Start flagging ways. What's that?
That's a pretty good way, you haven't tried.
It is, yeah.
It's really not too, it's not too bad.
Not bad.
Creek crossing too.
Yeah, there's,
Yeah.
but it's pretty low, just on the,
Is the old house under city property?
No, that's the bank.
What's the current ETA for phase one to be done?
Or the landfill? Or
Yeah,
the park?
The park.
Lowe's is anticipating a 14 to 16 month build out.
Okay.
On phase one.
Now we'll just be all structured, and then you start growing grass?
Yeah.
Probably the end of that next year. Maybe, or you could just let it probably grow a whole year, whole season.
That's preferred. It depends on what we end up, if we end up sodding it or sprigging it.
Right. Any other comments, questions? Okay, next up is summer recreation programs and events. Alan?
So, just to give you guys an update on what's upcoming for kids and families and the like for the summer. We're nearing completion of a pretty big overhaul at the pool. The renovation is almost all the way done. New offices, new bathrooms, new entryway, and then combined with the new surface and deck of the pool last year, we've essentially got a brand new pool. And so with that, we've added Mondays back into our schedule, so we're going to be open 7 days a week now rather than closed on Mondays. And that's all going to begin June 6th. June 6th is also going to kick off the Dive-In movie series. Fayetteville Firefighters Association partnered again with us, donated a chunk of change to enable us to provide this for free. And there you see our 4 dates and movie shows. Yeah, the old one. It's going to be nice and fresh now. If you haven't been out there, I recommend checking it out.
July 11th, they're playing Frozen.
Yeah, thought that seemed appropriate. Bring you down mentally.
Great movie.
Can we get like 5-gallon blocks of ice thrown in the pool?
I think that would be a great idea. Not a risk at all for injury.
We put them in there first.
Oh, yeah.
And margarita band, too.
Do what? Big margarita band. Yeah. There you go.
Maybe crushed ice.
Maybe, yeah, we'll go with that. Start smaller. So yeah, full events at the pool, swim lessons again, the dive-in movies, lap swim, so a full schedule of events at the pool. We anticipate another huge turnout this year, especially with the added day. And then specifically for the kiddos, the summer camp program is going to kick off that same week actually. And we've designed a new graphic that's going to be sort of our theme for all of our promotional materials and shirts. We thought that turned out pretty well. So if you want to check the next slide, give you sort of a rundown. If you're not familiar with the series, we offer 4 outdoor adventure camps throughout the summer, and they're staggered between different themes, usually sports themed. So these are every other week of camp, the outdoor adventure. That's what starts it off, and that's what ends the series, and that's out of like Fayetteville, where the kids can bike, kayak, they climb the rock wall over Lewis and Clark, they do some fishing, some disc golf. There's usually 8 activities throughout the week that everybody gets to do: archery, geocaching. It's a really cool experience, and at the camp, all of our camps fill up, but that's one of the most popular for sure. That's why we offer the 4 times. So soccer camp, obviously another huge camp in our program. June 16th, that'll have about 80 kids or so. Steve Oliver, the high school soccer coach, and he has Oliver Soccer. They come out, and some of their instructors and coaches come help instruct it along with our 10 counselors, so we look forward to that each year. tennis camp. Our recent partnership with Chris Cash and Fayetteville Tennis has been a huge success, and we're actually going to have them come help instruct. So they're going to play a similar role that Oliver Soccer does with Soccer Camp, and we anticipate that program growing more and more, becoming a little more technical in our teaching ability, but that's another fun camp. Drama, pretty unique camp that you don't see a lot of places. We bring in Arts Life Theater as our partner in this one. And the kids sort of do different activities to sort of get their creative juices flowing, and during the week they're formatting their own play that they perform on the Friday at the end of the week, and their parents get to come watch each kid do their own play. It's really cool, and it appeals to a different audience than maybe just the typical sports and adventure kids. So we hit another sort of demographic there, and we're proud of that.
My nephew was in that, he's from London.
Oh, yeah?
And it's pretty funny to hear his little accent from this little 5- and 6-year-old.
Yeah.
Parents from, mom's from Arkansas, he grew up, born in London.
Right.
That's all.
Dominant. Camp Wilson, sort of our old school camp where, I mean, it's by far the most popular. We can accommodate more like 100 kids for that camp because it's not as hands-on and instructional. We just let the kids just take over Wilson Park. So they get the opportunity to play tennis, basketball, kickball, they use a pool, they play foursquare, they go to the playground, to the castle, they just take it over, and it's a huge success, and the kids love it. There's some downtime where they're just kind of cooling off in the sprinkler system. Makeshift sprinkler system, I'll call it that.
Water park.
Yeah, there you go. The YRCC has their own slate of programs, Summer Fun for Kids being the predominant one. They're having orientation for that tonight. They're getting started in the next couple of weeks. And then they'll have kids crops and then weekly teen trips. They're trying to do more to appeal to that teen demographic. Just to keep you guys in the loop, we hired our new program coordinator at the YRCC last week, Chase Jones. Came in, and we feel really confident he's going to be an asset to the YRCC. So they're getting summer staff hired, and they're going to be in full swing just like we are very shortly. For adults over the summer, we're going to have kickball. That registration starts soon. Season will begin early July. There's a little illustration of how much fun they have out there. But there's competitive leagues, there's chill-out leagues, there's dress-up leagues, there's a little something for every sort of demographic that like to get out there and have some fun. Adult softball already going on and will go on throughout, I think, into November. Lots of teams. It's a really popular program here in town. We can accommodate usually about 80 teams each season. We have 3 seasons throughout the year, so highly successful.
So no fall season.
There will be a fall, Lake Fayetteville, there will be a renovation going on, so we're going to address some of the drainage issues on the Lake Fayetteville softball fields. So we'll be down some adult softball teams in the fall, but we'll make up for it by we'll offer more at Gary Hampton, and we'll offer additional tournaments and some sort of like miniature type leagues that we could do on the weekends. And then everybody's favorite, the Gully Park Summer Concert Series. This is our poster that we actually just got completed, and it is off being printed right now. We'll have banners and posters going up really soon. But there you can see the lineup and the dates and our very gracious sponsors. So we look forward to that, and that is right around the corner, May 29th. It's going to get started. So tell your friends.
These comments you made on the first of this card, there's a wonderful book called Spark, and if you guys haven't read it, I encourage you to get it and read it, and then pass it on to the school administrators. And it talks about the statistics on the activity with kids with ADD, and then they talk about a program. They get them to exercise 7 in the morning, 30 minutes, and then they feed them breakfast. Then they go right to math or right to science classes, and the grades went through the roof. That's awesome. Very interesting.
So where's that book utilized? Is it like a textbook? Or?
No, it's just a nonfiction. Spark is the name, S-P-A-R.
Gotcha.
Were they implementing that? Did you say this is in a school that was, I believe, a suburb of Chicago. Okay. And it was stunning. I mean, the grades were below average, and they started this program, and then the grades went to, and this is elementary school, and the grades in the science and the math, they went to the top 1% of the nation, something like that. So
wow.
And it's so simple, and you look at this, and of course you know how very little exercise our kids get in schools. And then if they're anyway bad, they take away recess.
Right.
Which is probably more recess, the better they be, but anyway,
Interesting.
yeah, that's good stuff.
Which brings us to our next slide.
Yeah, that was it. Social media, we're on there, so I know you guys all have all three of those, so you can follow us.
You all have a copy of the RX that went out in all the utility bills in Fayetteville. And we also did a partnership with Northwest Arkansas Pediatric Clinic for the doctors, and this one's a little bit different. They bought their own, but it's got the Northwest Pediatric Clinic logo on it. And actually, the doctors are going to be giving this to kids, saying, be active. And here's some things that you can be active doing. You know, there's 4,000 acres of park land that you can go to. So it goes on. And some of the reasons. And they fully, support us on this, and I think it's a great partnership that we have with them. So, there you go.
Is there any questions on any of those before we move on to the next? No? All right, next up is a report on Gully Park from Wade.
I gave a presentation to the city council for the agenda session, and did not really get much reception from them one way or the other. And good enough, though, it did draw attention to the potential for this land, and we've got a potential individual connected with a local corporation that's going to address their board about approaching them about a donation. The idea that Ms. Dunn said that she would sell the land for $1 million if it went to a park. And the idea would be this group would purchase that and then maybe donate half of it would be donation, and then work out something with the city where they would maybe pay for the other, pay half $1 million over, say, 5 years, where they could pay out $100,000 a year. And that way, I think everybody could win on that deal. And so that's hopeful on that. In the meantime, I talked also with Kit Williams and a few other folks, and Kit's advice was, I try to work with the folks at the top here, but he said, don't be shy about that. Talk to your neighbors, have them call the alderman. I mean, the more people involved that want this to happen, this is what's going to take. And currently, I guess you received an email from Max Mahler, who's picked up the Gully Park Run and has started the Cow Patty Foundation. And they donate about $8,000 a year to the Fayetteville Education Association through the Gully Park Run. And we're putting together some information, providing some information to him so they can look at doing a mailing about email. He's sitting now about 2,000 people. So I think that the interest is definitely there. It's just a matter of getting the right players involved. And we know the funds are in our community. They may not. So I'm hopeful that. So please keep mentioning it to people. Chuck, I don't know if we can talk about. Did you want to? The discussion we had about Lake Sequoia. Did you want to?
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Anything about that, or?
I guess we have to, we need to add it to the agenda.
At the beginning.
Part of the same discussion. Along those same lines.
A neighbor that lives out there has told me that there's horse out on the trail, and that there is a horse farm or a stable that is utilizing the parkland consistently. And he said, my son's, now gotten into cycling, and he can't even go out and use those trails because it's so mucked up with horse traffic. He said that there is a barn out there that has an acre or a couple acres, and they're sending their folk out onto the city park.
So, yeah, we're working with them on signage. It's more about trail etiquette and when to ride the trails and when not. It's kind of it can be a good thing. Like last summer, Alice and I walked out there. The trails where they had rode the horses were clear, you could walk them. The ones where they haven't were overgrown and we couldn't walk. and we don't have the manpower to mow those or to weed eat them. So that's a positive side. The negative is when it's wet and they're riding them, there's certain areas that they can muck up. And we went out there, we had a call from a neighbor, and there's a couple areas that are wet that is an issue.
They have that same issue down in Burns Park as well. And there's places down there that the trail is 40 foot wide because it's a low spot. This will be mud, and so everybody will start going around, and you know.
It's not unique to horses. I mean, we get the same problem with bikers or runners that use the trail when it's wet. It's the same problem. It's trying to get our public educated that when the trail's wet, you don't need to use it.
I think the horses should be on their own dedicated trails that they maintain and build. It's those trails were built, hand built, and by scouts and by members of ORC. And I think, I don't know what the policy is as far as, I thought there was policies that were not to be any horses on public land, on park land. I know we have livestock, but those are under grazing rights.
Yeah. Horseback riding is only permitted on trails so designated for that.
Well, they've gotten on the hand-built trails, and they've now used those trails that were hand-built. That's the way I've seen it. I mean, using right-of-way, the water line right-of-way that parallels Lake Sequoia, I mean, that was open. I mean, we didn't really build that other than just mowing slowly. Actually, but, the ones that have been hand-built, I mean, I've not been out there and seen the damage that was done, but, there's nothing more disgusting in my mind than walking through what horses leave behind. And, especially if you're walking into that. Or if you're riding a bike through it, it gets flung all over you. But
Horse is kind of dry. The sheep would be worse, I think.
Sheep?
The volume. Sheep leave just little pellets.
Volume, yeah, it's a little bit smaller volume, but it's only a period of time. Cow would be bad.
That's right.
Cows like worse.
Yeah.
So these trails are designated now to allow for horses.
We've allowed certain portions of them.
We were kind of doing it on a trial basis
Trial,
to
yeah.
see what impact they have. So it's kind of, like I mentioned, the positives and negatives. So it's to be determined still, I guess, what the trails that are allowed on.
We might need to
But
do
they're not allowed.
a field trip.
What all trails do we have that you can ride horses on, other than that?
We've allowed Lake Wilson, and that's
Lake Wilson's
been it.
horses.
We have not allowed them at Lake Fayetteville, never. But Lake Wilson's about the only one within our city, and this portion of Lake Sequoia.
I guess what I find annoying is none of them help build the Kingfisher Trail. And I'm assuming that's where the damage is.
Yeah, I mean, we find that consistently, is that they want access up there, across the board. You look at what the ORC, we looked at this last year, what we manage and how much trail work, and we're looking at over 100 miles that we deal with yearly. And they're very vocal about wanting access, but you don't get any assistance, no help, and then on top of it, they want a corridor that's twice as big as what is necessary for hiking and biking or anything else.
I forgot Combs Park. We used to allow them to do Combs Park, because I actually went riding with them years ago.
So if these particular trails, it did become a problem for them to be out there, they wouldn't be limited to access, they would just be then left to maybe build their own
Either
trail.
that, yeah, or we give them another, there's, 1,400 acres, 1,600 acres there at Lake Sequoia. The land on further
They could build another
the
trail.
south is unbelievable, great land.
I'll tell you that we went to Alabama, and Steve and I went down to Alabama and saw a bunch of stuff at the Sorbo, which is Southern Arkansas mountain biking. And this is, 11 of the 7 states wide as far as an organization. And they had complete and total, this one park, state park, complete separation between cyclists, hikers, runners, mountain bikers, and the horses. There were some trail crossings, but they were completely and totally separated.
There's a lot of different philosophies out there, and I think there's probably a lot of different philosophies in this room.
But the reality of it is, hiking trail and the biking trails were meant to shed water. They're built that way. There's a 2% grade for the bikers do even more, but where the water sheds and runs off the trail. Once those horses get on the trail, they pocket the trail up and then it's cupped, and the water runs down the trail and erodes the trail. And I mean, you can't compete with a 2,000-pound animal versus the foot tread from a human or a bicycle.
And there's areas that it does work. I mean, Hobbs is okay because it's chat. You don't have to worry about drainage in those areas. But anything that's organic, I mean,
Sounds like a road trip, field trip.
I think that'd be a good way to do it, yeah.
Yeah.
Bring me all.
Thanks, Stu. Let's do that for next meeting.
Sorry, I didn't add that up.
We can walk out there.
Well, we might, it depends on if we're doing botanical gardens or not.
Okay.
But we might be.
Just in the near future, because it sounds like this probably needs to be
Yeah.
addressed.
Do that.
And I will admit the past, I've not been out in a while. Normally I'm out there with especially the trail going up the White River. I've not been out there in a while. Normally I go out there and keep maintaining the wind and then take a chainsaw from time to time and clippers and just by breaking back limbs and things that fall off the trail. But that's I've been almost afraid to go out there and see it.
I wouldn't have known anything except that there's a scout that lives out there. He's just like this. He's not real active, and his dad is just overwhelmed with the fact that he's now taken to the bike and wants to be out there, and he's having difficulties. So I haven't, I haven't seen it. It was just somebody that brought it to my
Yeah,
attention.
we need to go out there and look at it and make a decision where, how, all of those things. But
There's plenty of land. The horses ought to be able to, have their own routes or spread out, so you don't have the impact.
Okay.
I agree. Okay.
All right. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is announcements. May 5th, swim lesson registration begins and fall youth soccer registration begins. May 7th is the last day to enter urban forestry landscape competition. May 10th is girls fast pitch tournament. May 12th to the 16th is bike to work week. May 19th is kickball program begins, and May 29th is Gully Park Concert. National Park Radio is the band playing. I guess that begins.
And we have one more thing to add.
One more thing.
On May the 12th is the ribbon cutting for the Mount Sequoia Gardens viewing area. Y'all, it is awesome. 5:30, May 12th. It's on a Monday.
Where is that being?
Next Monday.
Where's that built?
That's on Summit and, where the old water tower used to be, Summit and.
The backside.
Rogers Drive and Texas Way, or
Yeah, except by Texas Way.
one of those.
Close to those water
It
things.
it is awesome. Allison did a remarkable job designing that. So, yeah, I mean, when you go up there, it's just breathtaking. Great job.
And I rode the trails out there recently, and I was very impressed. I hadn't been out there in about 2 years.
Oh, you're on Mount Sequoia Woods.
From Mount Sequoia. Yeah,
We were at the garden,
Right, okay.
to another place.
Big difference there.
Very interesting. But the Mount Sequoia Woods there is great. Allison.
Whoever's been maintaining those trails and putting the trails in, done a really, really good job.
Remarkable job.
There was, and it wasn't that long ago, 2 or 3 years ago, it was very confusing to ride, and now there's a really nice line and a nice loop you can go ride.
Yeah.
So-
I just wish they get rid of the six a little bit. I had a couple that liked it.
We just had the festival, and they put down the granules.
Oh, really?
Because you got people camping in the field and everything, and it was amazing.
It works.
How long does it last?
Chiggers do.
Really, fairly.
Chiggers works too.
I don't know. I'd have to ask,
Already have.
and probably, yeah, go out there and test it a little bit.
People at the university told me that you could not see all of your body, keep it.
Or skin so soft and that stuff.
Skin so soft, not seeing us supposed to really, you could
What?
send yourself. Okay, one thing I would like to encourage you, our hotel motel restaurant is a little down, so y'all need to be eating more and inviting more guests to the city.
Okay.
We're down about 1% than what we were,
Our baseball.
well, we're up only 1%.
Is that here today?
That's year to date, as of the end of March.
Festivals.
You can
April.
put that on there. That's from the weather.
As of the end of April,
That's from
Well,
what?
that's all it is.
The weather.
All the rain.
Oh, yeah.
yeah. We were way down January, February, you can see, January, we were down. We just like that line to keep going up. Eat out.
That's it.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.